Hey y'all, welcome back to the Free Black Women's Library YouTube channel. Thank you so much for clicking on this video. Thank you for liking this video and thank you for subscribing to my channel. Welcome back to another Rambly reaction. Today I am talking about the TV show Harlem, season 2, episode 5. The name of the episode is Pride. Now, I really enjoyed this episode. I thought it was really fun. And as someone who lives in New York City, this gives me the knowledge that we are now in the summertime for this show. So we have a setting because here in New York City, Pride is in June. And I like little hints like that when I'm watching a show, because then it kind of places me more into the narrative. So it's June in New York City, and oftentimes what happens, similar to what we saw in the show, is there are a lot of businesses, corporations, organizations, collectives. There's a lot of marketing, capitalism, co-opting that happens of pride. And the city does get messy and it does get wild. Everything you saw was true to life. But I enjoyed it because, as y'all know, I love Quinn. Quinn is my favorite. And it may seem odd for a woman in her 30s to all of a sudden discover that she is not heterosexual, but I don't think it is. I don't even know if Quinn knows what she is. Like she said at one point, she said questioning. I think she's still discovering and still figuring things out. And I think she might be the type of person who is demisexual and who is attracted to people and not genders. So it's a sexuality that can't really be categorized. And I will talk more about Quinn later. But first, I would like to just start right off where we left off, which is at the vow renewal for Quinn's parents. Now, I find it very odd that nobody was overly concerned that Quinn wasn't there. That felt weird to me, considering I feel like I'm not married, but I feel like a vow renewal is something akin to marriage as far as the importance of that ceremony. So that felt odd to me. But this episode starts out with that conversation with Ty and Camille, where they're talking about their eggs and freezing their eggs. And Camille's talking about how she may not be able to have a child. And one of the things I appreciate about the show is that each episode starts off like literally right where the last episode ended, like literally. We're right back in that scene and Ian is saying, "Tell me what." And each episode ends on this little cliffhanger, like, say what? I like that element. It's fun. The Camille and Ty, they make it seem like they were talking about stuff like period blood and menstruation and vaginal discharge and all these things that, of course, Ian's like, I don't want to hear all that. I'll meet y'all over there. And it's so funny how that is something that women often use as an excuse to avoid a conversation. Please don't come for me. Maybe that was a little internalized sexism that just jumped out, but just like us parents of small children often use our children as an excuse to why we can't do something. It is what it is. So I really loved what the girls were wearing in this scene. I really loved Ty's suit that she said was Alexander McQueen. And I really love Camille's fluffy green dress. Like I would wear that dress in a heartbeat. Um, so cute. So cute. And we got to see Jasmine Guy again. And we find out that she didn't know about the Vogue interview, and Camille kind of spilled the beans. And that was that. We didn't see anything else of the vow renewal. Okay, I guess. So moving on, we see Camille teaching in class. She's got her huge slides, photographs behind her, and she's waxing poetic about the concept of pride. And I really love seeing Camille teach. I love seeing her teach. I don't know if the way she teaches her class is considered to be standard, or if what she's doing would be considered radical or subversive within an academic institution. All I know is I like seeing her character tackle with being a professor and being an adjunct professor specifically. I appreciate that storyline more than the Ian Jameson stuff. That's just me. How about y'all? So as Camille's leaving, she happens to bump into Jameson. Accident or on purpose, we'll never know. But Jameson has been a little creepy in the past. If y'all remember in season 1, when he was Googling her and doing all this research on her and then pretended like he didn't know anything about her. Y'all remember that? Either way, I think Camille might have him blocked on all social media and email and her phone. So if the only way he was able to get in touch with her is by coming down to the campus and just trying to pretend like he bumped into her in front of her class, then I guess. But he applied for a grant in both their names and they got it for $25K. He's like, let's do this. It's about Black motherhood. You can handle this part. I can handle this part. And it would be an awesome career move, especially now when her career feels really uncertain. Doing a research project of this magnitude is something that could lead to a book deal, a documentary, a foundation being created, bills being proposed, or possibly laws being passed. So it's no small thing. But Camille says no, and she insists and says no. They have this awkward back and forth, and Jameson feels a little bit tight, bitter, a little bit. And I guess he has a right to feel some type of way, considering how things went down. But either way, they go their separate ways. And later on, Camille's talking to Ty, and she tells Ty about it. And Ty says, what did Ian say when you told him about how you bumped in the Jameson? And Camille says, I didn't tell him. And okay, you didn't tell him about bumping into Jameson. You haven't told him about the situation with your fertility. It feels like you're not being very upfront and open with this person that's supposed to be your partner. This is what Ty says, or Ty alludes to. And I find this moment to be very interesting because Ty is supposed to be the person that's bad at relationships, but I feel like she gives really good advice to people who are in relationships about their relationships. And that's pretty true to life, wouldn't you say? You have people who can tell you how to make every type of move, but then when it's time for them to do it, they can't. And yeah, so either way, Camille gets a phone call. Dr. Pruitt calls her away. Come over here right now in 15 minutes. Well, everything you have on Seneca Village. It turns out that the lead researcher on the Seneca Village project was not only pretending to be white, but she also submitted fake research and she faked Dr. Pruitt's identity and got a credit card in her name. So Dr. Pruitt is having big problems. She's in a horrible mood. She's more cranky than usual. And they work it out. But at one point, Dr. Pruitt gets a phone call, and we find out that Dr. Pruitt has a daughter, and they have an estranged relationship. Camille, who, as I've said in the past, is really bad at reading the room and really not good at boundaries, not crossing boundaries. She stayed crossing boundaries. She tries to talk to Dr. Pruitt about her relationship with her daughter and me and my mom. And maybe it's not being bad at boundaries. Maybe it's just trying to connect with Dr. Pruitt on like a human level and an emotional level. But it's like, come on, Camille, read the room. Dr. Pruitt is not trying to be your friend. Or maybe she is. We shall see. So they get a call. They have to go down to the dean. And for those of you that are in academia, for those of you who are scholars, for those of you who are professors and deans and whatnot, please leave me a comment and let me know. Is this how things go on a college campus? Is this how things happen within an academic university institution? Do you just get called to present yourself and your case to the dean on like a Sunday? Because this was Pride weekend. They were at brunch. So I'm assuming it was a Sunday afternoon. They had to just go down there immediately. Either way, Camille decides that she's going to fall on the sword for Dr. Pruitt and say that it was her fault, that everything that happened was her fault because she's leaving Columbia anyway. Okay, girl, if you want to do that, I think that's a poor choice. But if you want to do that, you can go ahead and do that. Like risking your whole career for this woman that you just met, that you barely know. So we see Ty walking down the street and she bumps into the plant lady. They have a moment, they have a cute moment, and it's obvious that there's some type of chemistry between them. They may become a couple at some point. They may start dating. We shall see. But they do hug and bond over the fact that they've both been divorced. And Ty leaves, meets the girls at brunch, blah, 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 blah. Her and Quinn, Q, her and Quinn go to Pride together. And while they're at Pride, there's somebody handing out flyers for an app for queer people of color for dating. And Ty's like, this is giving me an idea. Maybe I should just cancel the Q app because if I cancel it, then that means their branding won't get nothing because half of nothing is nothing. So Ty is so upset over giving half of her empire to Brandon that she's willing to destroy this app that she's been building for years. I get it, girl. I get it. But the Q app is having a party. It's Pride weekend. Perfect time for a queer dating app to have a party. I would have been at that party. And she goes to make the announcement that she's canceling Q. And this couple comes up to her and they tell her, listen, if it wasn't for you, we would have never found each other. We've been together 7 months. We're so in love. I was out in the middle of nowhere and I found my boo. And all these couples are there talking to Ty, and there's little things that flash on the screen that talk about how long they've been together. And it was a really beautiful moment. And it also gave Ty some insight, like, this app is not just about you and what's going on between you and Brandon. It's about the fact that it's providing a safe space for queer folks to find each other and fall in love, build relationships, build families. So Ty changes her mind about destroying the app. She decides she's just going to keep the app. She's going to continue building the app. And if she has to give him half, fuck it. She'll do it. So the app will continue. Now, one of the things I did not realize is that I think they're trying to tell us that Ty is a millionaire because she cut a check for Brandon that was really high. It was like $1 million or something. Mm-hmm. But let's talk about Angie. So Angie, so proud of Angie. Angie is moving out. Her friend, her fuck buddy from Get Out, the musical, Eric, got a gig as a singing teacup going on tour for 6 weeks or 8 weeks or 10 weeks or something like that. So Angie's going to sublet his place. Now that she's got a job on the Harlem movie, she's got a place, she's got a man, things at work, things are moving up for Miss Angie, okay? So I love how my head is like disappearing based on where I sit. Things are working out for Miss Angie. So Angie tells Quinn, I'm moving out. Quinn doesn't really give her the response that she wants. She ends up leaving. Her and Eric hang out for a little bit, and then they decide to leave because I guess his place, there's no bars and no hot water after 10 p.m. Hello. And my favorite part of this episode was actually when Angie was trying to find a place to charge her phone, and her phone was like at 4%, and she was trying to run to the phone store. She started running, and then a whole bunch of and then other people just started running with her, and before you know it, it was just like mad folks running. And the woman was running with a baby. Like, it's this joke that when Black folks see one person running, they all run. It's like an inside joke amongst Black folks for those who may not be hip to that. So, whew, I laughed so hard. Did y'all think that was funny, or was it just me? Because I was laughing my ass off. So Angie finally gets her phone call, and so on and so forth. Let's move on to Quinn. So Quinn has lied to the girls about Vogue. She pretended that the Vogue interview went so well, and that's the reason she missed the vow renewal. It was so well, she hung out with the guys from Vogue afterwards. I don't know why they would believe her. Like, you would miss your vow renewal to hang out, your parents' vow renewal to hang out with these reporters from a magazine. That's just weird. But either way, she spends most of the day trying to pretend like she's fine and she's so happy and she's so excited to be out and pride spirit. She makes this really outlandish outfit with this like headpiece and these wings. It's all rainbow everything. And it was a lot. She forces Ty to go with her to the pride parade. She gets really drunk. And each time Ty asks her, please tell me what's wrong, talk to me, she changes the subject. Once again, we see Ty being very sensitive, being very nurturing, being very supportive of her friends. So I'm glad that she realized that what Brandon said about her was not true. Either way, Quinn's mom is at the parade, and this is the first time they've seen each other since before the renewal. And Quinn's mom is once again really mean, really cold towards her. She asks her for a hug. Her mom is giving out free hugs. She asks her mom for a hug, and she says, oh, I don't have to hug you. We hug all the time. And Quinn says, we do? And then she says, I'll hug you next week. And Ty says, I'll give you a hug. So sweet. So, so sweet. But there was another funny moment in this episode when Quinn sings QRST, Pride Spirit. I cracked up. QRST. She keeps saying Pride Spirit, Pride Spirit. I cracked up. So this show is funny. This show be giving me laughs. I'm not like falling out of my chair laughing, but then I rarely do. But I got some good chuckles in with this episode for sure. So Quinn spends the day pretty much drinking and ends up getting really drunk. And by the time she's at the Q party, she's just sloshed, picks up the phone when Ian calls and says, Camille had to do something very important. which almost got Camille in a little bit of trouble, right? So the elevator door opens and the guys from Vogue are at the party. and Camille tries to sneak out because she's embarrassed. They see her and they tell her, hey, Quinn. And she's like, oh, don't look at me. And they're like, it's not our fault your Vogue interview got canceled. And Quinn gets upset and starts fighting them in the elevator and gets thrown out of the party. And when she's thrown out of the party is when we see all the people running. So it was just good timing. And she's like, oh, we running? And it's Angie. Angie's like, Quinn. Quinn's like, Angie. And they hug and they apologize and they make up because they had that fight earlier. And Angie finally gets her phone call from Michael. And she walks, and Quinn is like, we'll talk later. And Quinn is just there. And she ends up like walking home. So out of all the stories, I feel like Camille's story is the one that seems to be progressing. She's dealing with stuff with her relationship and she's dealing with stuff with her job. One thing I should mention is the fact that she left her phone at home and Ian found her phone and not on purpose, but happened to see a text from Jameson talking about you should reconsider. We would make a great team, et cetera, et cetera. So the episode ends with another cliffhanger because Ian goes to the bar, Llewell's, to meet Jameson. And then it ends there. So that's the end of Pride. So, like I said, it feels like Camille's story is progressing pretty quickly. Not too much has changed as far as with Ty in this episode, except us knowing she's a millionaire, which did y'all know that? Angie, Angie's story is definitely progressing because she has a job now, she has her own place now, and she's got this relationship going. So there is stuff going on with Angie. Quinn, I think, just needs to stop drinking and go to therapy, girl. You just need to go to therapy. So that's all that went down in episode 5, Pride. And I think I will say out of all the storylines so far, as usual, I'm a fan of Quinn's storyline because that's probably because I find it the most relatable out of all of them. But that's just me. How about you? Do you relate to any of these characters? What do you think about these characters? Do you think they'd be friends in real life? Would you be friends with any of these women in your life? Let me know in comments. Leave me a comment. Let me know that you're out there. And subscribe to my channel. Episode 6 coming your way. Bye, guys.